Last year, I met Jane. It was the first time I saw her at the railway station. She was attempting suicide. I managed to stop her in time, and that's how we met. Jane was quite talkative, not the type to fall into depression often or cut off ties with people around her. Her incident at the station was a result of drug use. After our first meeting, I started visiting her 4 times a week. We discussed many things. It felt like I was her therapist. She was haunted by nightmares involving her mother. I fall asleep and see my mom. She calls me to her, but I can't look her in the eyes. She doesn't have any. She described her dreams. According to her, she led a normal life, hanging out with friends, going to school. But one day, her mother didn't come back from work. After 5 days of searching, they found her far from home and work in the woods. She was hanging from a tree, her eyes gouged out and replaced with stones. Next to her was a suicide note. The police decided not to inform her daughter about its contents. The day started like any other weekend. I woke up quite late. Without having breakfast, I set off. Arriving at Jane's house, I was about to go up to her floor to meet her, when someone laughed behind me. I turned around to see Jane sitting on a bench, smiling cheerfully. "How did I not notice you?" I said. At 17, she looked 20. "I felt like going out and waiting for you here on the street." She continued to smile. I sat next to her and we started talking. She seemed very happy, which surprised me. Usually she was either sad or spoke with a trembling voice. Today she told me she hadn't had any nightmares for 2 days. We continued talking about various topics, and then I went home. I was sure she was getting better. After that, I didn't visit her for a week. I was about to come to her again by bus when I received a message. It said Jane had gone for treatment at the local psychiatric hospital. The number was unfamiliar. At first, I thought it was some kind of joke. But then I accepted what had happened. It had been about 2 months since I received that message, when I decided to visit her father. Rain poured on me. Of course, I forgot my umbrella now, I thought to myself, walking towards Jane's house. I knocked on the door, but there was no answer. Knocking again, I confirmed that no one was there. I decided to leave the apartment building and go to the street. I was hungry. On my way to the local grocery store, I heard a strange noise, a bizarre howl. It seemed like the people passing by didn't hear it. It was still far to the store. I decided to ask an old man who was feeding pigeons where the store was. "There are no stores nearby," the old man said, looking at a tree nearby. "Then where is it?" I asked. "Where there are no tears." He continued to stare at the tree. "What? What are you talking about?" "I thought I misheard. Don't you hear it's crying?" He grinned. I immediately thought he was crazy. But it seemed to me that this wail was very similar to crying, as if it came from a cave. It felt like I was in a cave, with drops falling from the ceiling, merging into a puddle that smelled of decay. A chill ran down my spine, as if someone was watching me. I don't know how long I stood next to the old man, but when I returned to reality, there was no rain, only clouds and puddles. Apparently, it had passed, and I hadn't even noticed. "Why did you come here to this city?" the old man asked me. "To visit my friend's father." "You come here every day, searching for this store?" Now, I was sure he was crazy. "And who are you?" I asked. "Me? And who are you?" "You're a strange guy. Nowadays, the youth go to study, and those like you end up in the loony bin." turned around and went back to Jane's house. Knocking on the door again, I made sure no one was there. I started getting nervous. And then I received a message. "Hi, it's Jane. You haven't visited for a while. Let's meet up. Reply when you see this." I was astonished. This message was sent from the same number as before. But how? It wasn't Jane's number, and the previous message stated she was in the psychiatric hospital. Thoughts raced through my head, one of them being, I should call this number. But something held me back. I decided to text back. I would love to meet, but where? I waited, but there was no response. After returning home, I thought long about what had happened there, the old man, the hallucinations about the cave, and the message. Days passed, weeks, months, 2, and I forgot about it. Just in case I saved that number, but at night I was haunted by nightmares. Jane was there. She was sitting on the dirty ground, hugging her knees, wearing a t-shirt she never wore, or I just didn't remember, crying, and I was consoling her. I forgot these nightmares when I woke up in the morning, but after weeks I began to remember them, and I was sure they were dreams. Sometimes those days I spent with her seemed unreal, or is what I see now unreal. I fell in love with Jane, but I'm not sure if she existed. Was she the semi-orphan trying to jump under the train? Was she my mother? Was she the 7-year-old girl whose eyes I gouged out and throat I slit, many others I killed? Or was I Jane? But maybe. I surely know who I am. I just don't like to remind myself of it. I'm 23, suffering from dissociative identity disorder. I don't know if I'm dead, but my alter ego says I am dead, Tony. I'll do whatever he says, or he'll possess me again and drag me back to her house or somewhere else. I don't want to die. He tells me he'll drag me into that cave where sharp claws and corpses of people are, and water smells strange, but maybe I want to go there myself. Otherwise, why do I collect people's eyes? After all, entry there is ensured by those who sacrifice 200 pairs of eyes. And then maybe I'll lose the feeling that someone is watching me.